Hi, I'm Lauren from the Mineral Body, just continuing on our series of the 12 basic biochemic minerals, and today we are looking at number 6, which is Kalium sulphate, Kalium sulfuricum, or potassium sulphate as it's known today, all names for the same mineral. So, keywords for this mineral would be thinking body oils, chronic inflammations, and oxygen potential, similar to the iron. Now, like we spoke about with the iron, so mineral number 3, iron phosphate, is responsible for binding oxygen into the blood, carrying this oxygen in the blood to wherever it needs to go in the body. But once it's got there, it's the job of mineral number 6, potassium sulphate, to actually allow the intake of oxygen via the cell. So for the cell's intake of oxygen, we need this mineral. We mentioned briefly last episode how the potassiums are intercellular minerals. Their primary role is the internal cellular functionings. So think of iron as the oxygen distribution mechanism, but it's the job of potassium sulphate to actually allow that to be uptaken into the cells. So, potassium sulphate for the skin and the body oils. So the function of this mineral oxygenates the skin and the mucous membranes, and so works very well with mineral number 3. This mineral controls the state of body oils. So this is big and widely influential. So the skin, as we've spoken about before, is the largest organ of the body. It's an excretory organ, but it also has its own respiration. So you are covered in pores, and these pores are emitting steam all the time. You can't visually see this easily unless you take your hand up to a plane of glass, put it a few millimeters away, and watch for a few seconds. You'll see that glass steam up, fog up. That's from your steam, from your pores being emitted, and that's happening all day, every day. So when you exert yourself, this mechanism is turned way up because all the metabolic functions are turned up. So when we increase all of these metabolic functions, like when we've just done vigorous exercise, you can see the evidence of this in the reddening of the skin, the blood flow at the surface, in the heat of the skin. Energy in motion translates to heat, so overall metabolic functions being boosted is going to boost the overall thermotemperature, boost the overall temperature of the organism, and our pores and the steam that we release help regulate this. So as all of these metabolic functions are speeding up, it is demanding that we emit more steam so that we can let off more pressure, let out more heat. So should the body oils not be manufactured perfectly and, say, become too thick, this can clog the pores and inhibit the function of this steam. So the ramifications of this is, as soon as we block that steam from escaping, the fact that there was steam, that says there's heat behind this. The fact that the steam is pushing out, that says there's pressure. So we block these pores, and all of a sudden we have the internal heat is building up, and we've got internal pressures building up. Everything that the steam that is emitted is carrying its own debris, toxins, elements that need to be eliminated through the system. Elements that might come out in sweat and that kind of thing are also going to be in minute amounts in this steam that we're pushing out through the pores. The sweat is likely the condensation of this steam. Okay, so should the steam be inhibited from escaping, that pressure, that heat, and the substances that needed to get out need to go somewhere. So this can get turned internally, and we can see it getting thrown off at the lungs, and this would result in chestiness, in a cough, just the accrual of phlegm in the lungs. We could see this getting thrown off via the intestinal tract, and this would interfere with digestive processes, cause some digestive upsets. We could see this getting thrown off through the skin in kind of stubborn rashes. The nature of number 6 and rashes, we would be seeing flaking of skin initially. We might see some yellowing in the crustiness of the flakes. As it progresses, we would start to see the skin splitting open, thickening of the skin as well. The rashes that can be produced by this mineral, or an imbalance of this mineral, I should say, you will see the nature of the skin become less and less perfect because the nature of the body oils, and this mineral is a constituent of the skin too. So when we're deficient in it and trying to manufacture new skin cells, we're having imperfect results. And we see this in the nature of the rash. The flaking, the yellowness, the splitting, the imperfect. It's the nature. All of these things speak to the nature of the rash, the underlying cause of it. And these are all signs of disrupted skin formation and disrupted oils. So, controls the state of body oils. Thick oils can clog pores, decreasing the skin's ability to breathe and release toxins. This results in toxins turning inward, becoming a problem. This mineral is also important for the maintenance of mucous membranes. So just as a basic constituent of skin, as an element that we use to detox, so that's giving it the ability to be useful for the upkeep of just skin in general. We may not need to rebuild it all the time, but the purging the skin that's still there, it's useful for that too. So both sides of that coin. So due to this mineral's affinity for regeneration of skin, and also the detox ability, so this is another sulfur-rich mineral. Anytime we're looking at the sulfur-rich minerals, they tend to have a stimulatory effect to the body, that sulfur, that warming movement. So they're metabolic stimulators, and they're also another oxidizing element. So iron and the sulfurs are both oxidizing elements. Both of these elements in nature, when they come into contact with other elements, they oxidize them. They basically, chemically speaking, they're very generous with their oxygen ions, atoms. They are happy to hand them over, which begins chemical processes, and in a lot of cases it begins breaking apart other elements. Think of iron left outside. It itself begins breaking apart, and should you wish to crumble that sort up, it's a lot easier once it's rusted. Translating this into the body, some of the more complex elements or metallic elements that we want to detox and move, they're made a lot more movable by sulfur and by iron, by their ability to oxidize them into more base parts. So this mineral is found in the skin, the bones, the muscles, scalp, hair, nails, and body oils. So some handy notes on usage for this mineral. After infectious diseases, take 3 number 10s, which is sodium sulphate, another sulfur-rich mineral, before meals, and then follow that up with 3 to 5 of the potassium sulphate after meals, to promote a purge of toxins and a regeneration of tissues. Repeat that 3 times daily for the next 2 or 3 days after a big infectious illness, and this will greatly speed up your recovery by allowing, a purge of toxins just by supplying the minerals involved with those functions, nourishing the excretory organs involved with those functions, and also bolstering the body's ability to regenerate as well. So some areas of application for this mineral, in asthma, chronic asthma, as we spoke about. So asthma, that's that breathlessness. So you might be getting the iron, you might be getting the oxygen into the blood, but can you get it deep into the cells? This mineral is going to help with that breathless sensation. In fact, breathlessness or hungry for air is a tell for this mineral, which is really your cells en masse in that state of hungry for air, translating that emotion to you. So, for bladder infections, for blood poisoning, just by bolstering the liver's ability to cleanse the blood, nourishing the liver with those sulfur minerals. For children's illnesses in the recovery phase, anybody's illness in the recovery phase, really. For a cough with it, it's kind of got like a barking sound to it. The cough from this mineral, it can come with phlegm that is kind of loose, profuse, slimy, a lot of it, but also it could show as phlegm that's quite tough and difficult to move. Both of those can be a tell for this mineral. So for detox, just to bolster your whole system with detox and to make detox easier. In fact, a lot of the terrible detox signs and symptoms that you read about are due to a system being low in the minerals of detox, hence building up a backlog of toxins, and then them evoking a detox through regimes, through juice cleanses, forcing your body to purge those toxins. And if you don't have the minerals involved with making that easy for the body, you are going to have symptoms, and they're not going to be pleasant. The biochemic method would much prefer we just supply the body with all of the minerals involved in these functions, and then this completely leaves it up to the body when to evoke those functions. Should you start doing this and maintaining that, you'll start to get small seasonal detoxes that take you out for a day, maybe 2 days. You might get a little bit run down, but nothing major and nothing that progresses. This is because this is a simple thing for the body. Detox should be simple. If it isn't, there's a reason. There's some imperfect function happening in the body. We've got some deficiency somewhere. Something is inhibiting function. So yeah, beneficial for detox. If you're thinking about detoxing, worrying about detoxing, or just want to bolster those systems. For eye and ear infections, any infections really, beneficial for eczema, as in it's beneficial for both detoxing the irritants causing the outbreak and for the regeneration of tissues, more perfect healing basically. For hair fall, for gastritis, especially when it's chronic. Headaches, there are headaches brought on by this mineral. A lot of them will come up for headaches, but they all have specific kind of natures to the headaches. I'll have to do a whole episode on diagnosing headaches via minerals. Because yeah, there are all different shades of headaches and many different reasons for them to come about. So for joint infections, just as a general liver tonic. For muscle ache, should the ache be caused by a lack of oxygen in the muscles themselves? Again, you might have the blood rich with oxygen, but can we get it into the cells? For melasma, for overeating, pharyngitis, pigment disorders. So as this mineral is involved with the body oils and regeneration of skin itself, if we are deficient in this mineral and go to recreate skin, we will have imperfect recreations. And this can be seen in outbreaks of freckles, or what they call pregnancy mask. All of these are signs for interruption of the regeneration processes of the skin, all tells for this mineral. For rhinitis, drippy nose, especially if there's kind of crustiness left. You see that commonly in kitties. For sinus infections, for skin rashes in general, stomach pressure and bloat after eating. Yeah, this mineral can cause uncomfortable bloating when you're dysregulated in it. And anytime you see the skin forming these kind of yellow crusts, anytime there's the yellowing to the skin, the wound, the rash, all of this is signs of dysregulated body oils. All of this will be assisted by the use of this mineral, primarily by the use of this mineral. So facial tells for this mineral, a kind of a jaundiced look. So the skin, you will see yellowy or ochre hues. And if you're thinking liver, well, yes, this mineral, this is one of the primary minerals for the liver. So hugely nourishing to the liver, stimulatory to the overall metabolism. This mineral speeds up the rate at which we can move those toxins, and the yellowing in the skin is that backlog of toxins that we are seeing. So the yellow-brown skin hues will be visible, especially around the eyelids and kind of in this kind of A-frame area. But just an overall yellowish hue is fairly common when this mineral is dysregulated, as are the outbreaks of freckles, pregnancy mask, pigment patches on the skin. So the tongue tells for this mineral, we will see a coating similar to number 4, but with more yellow hues to it. And the coating will be more focused to the rear, to the back of the tongue. The casts we will see with this mineral, yellow, can be tough, slimy, that's a big one for this one. And it can be profuse or it can be stubborn and difficult to move. In both cases, supplying this mineral, affecting the nature of the oils of the body and increasing the amount of oxygen held in the cells is going to be beneficial. So a big boost of oxygen to the lungs is going to give us a lot more power to help push and dislodge that stubborn phlegm. So yeah, the cast would be tough, yellow or ochre, and slimy. Can be profuse or can be tough and stubborn and difficult to dislodge. There can be some tightness, kind of constriction on the chest as well with this mineral. Other tells for this mineral would be an enclosed room or stuffy spaces, warmth, all aggravating. So if that steam we are emitting is one of the ways that we thermoregulate, keep our body temperature, if the oils are clogging that process and turning that heat inward, we're getting a spike of internal temperature. And should we be put in a position where it's warm and it's still, that's going to be very aggravating to that state, and that's going to spike that internal temperature even more. When you're quite low on that, it's extremely aggravating. So to go out into the cool, fresh air, especially where there's air movement, would be hugely beneficial to these people, because that's assisting in the thermoregulation the body is currently having trouble with. The moving air is going to help you strip heat and regulate that internal temperature. So when stuffy rooms aggravate and cool air soothes, that could be a huge tell for this mineral. And just another quick thing to note, both nicotine and coffee will deplete this mineral, unfortunately. So just another potential reason why you might need to supplement some of this mineral. So yeah, potassium sulphate, the salt for chronic inflammations, for body oils, and for getting oxygen deep into the cells. A most useful mineral. Alrighty, just a brief overview on potassium sulphate and some of the areas in which it can be helpful. Hope you've enjoyed, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to post them in the comments. Yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.